they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening on the Moose Club. In tonight's episode, we're going to have we're going to kind of analyze the upcoming Georgia Senate runoff elections that are taking place on Tuesday, January 5th, and kind of give you an update on where those races stand, kind of what we think is going to happen with them, as well as some recent comments the president had in a phone call with the Georgia Secretary of State regarding the presidential election back in November. But kind of we'll go over the most recent polling here. Essentially all reputable polls have both Democratic candidates up. And it kind of ranges anywhere from looks like 1-2 points to up to 4 or 5. A couple polls here have it at +8, +9 points for the Dem candidates, but those kind of seem to be a little bit of an outlier. But yeah, so I think obviously the implications are enormous. The Democrats have to win both seats in order to take control of the Senate. Will this give them 50 seats and then they have the tiebreaker, or would this give them 51?
Give them 50.
This will give them 50. Okay. So yeah, obviously a big deal. And then the president today or yesterday, Joe, or sometime recently had a phone call with the Georgia Secretary of State. And Joe, can you kind of just explain what that phone call, kind of why it's turned into a big deal?
Yeah, so Trump was talking with the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, something like that. And basically, more or less, Trump was asking or pressuring the Georgia Secretary of State to do something broadly to help his vote total. There was direct mention to how many votes he needed. Trump directly referenced recalculating. So you can, he's experienced. He knows what he's doing. He can shred or go around the gray area, but it's pretty obvious listening to that phone call what he wanted him to do. Also goes into talking about just, Dominion machines in Fulton County, which, imagine this, it's a minority county around Atlanta. He's trying to discredit, how they're counting votes, saying that they're ripping up Trump ballots, which they wouldn't have that much to rip up anyway. So just crazy wonky shit that, he believes in.
Yeah, it's I did listen to the three of us listened to it right before we started recording here, but we'll put some snippets of that call in the video.
We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this, and there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. Having a correct. The people of Georgia are angry, and these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan, Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
But have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially just, if I understand right, he's just asking them to just change the numbers. basically, like, which isn't going to happen. And credit to, it's really interesting because with the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, like there was the whole issue with voter suppression back when he ran against Stacey Abrams, but now like he's kind of, I don't want to paint him out to be this good guy, but he's like kind of stood up to the president, and with the presidential election this time around of, the votes in Georgia being legitimate and like no fraud being, found or anything like that. And then especially the Secretary of State for Georgia has pretty much this whole time just been like this is no, like the votes were accurate. It was a secure election. It was good. Everything was above board. Like there's no, what you're saying is just not true. So we'll put that call in there, snippets of it. There's one particularly funny snippet in there, but I'll put that in here at the back end of this, and it's a good listen. But so as far as the Senate race, the two runoffs, what are you guys thinking? How do you envision things playing out on Tuesday? What do you think, Bork? Are the Democrats gonna take the Senate with Georgia?
I mean, gun to my head, I would say no. But just based on what everything seems to be saying, that there's Georgia early voters are outpacing what they were in November. I mean, I would think that would, again, benefit Democrats. Obviously, I thought so with the general election, which wasn't necessarily the case. But given how fraught, I guess we can call them, since the post-presidential election has been, seems like the Republicans have essentially told on themselves and saying that we're ready to just forego this whole democracy thing if need be. Again, I don't know if that necessarily hurts them, GOP Republicans, just by how they've run elections in the past and won elections in the past, just based on these are radical Democrats and all the things that come along with that. Seems like there's just tons of more money pouring in on both sides, which is hilarious because Kelly Loeffler is going to walk into Congress as probably the Senate as probably the richest person in there, if not outright the most wealthy senator in there. But yeah, the polling is leaning Democrats. From what I'm reading right here, it seems toss-up race at this point. And maybe that's why not a lot of, I don't know, stimulus legislation went through in the direction that Democrats would have liked it, just to not try and
force a vote on.
Yeah, not necessarily force a vote, but Mitch McConnell was, I think, in his own way, trying to protect his seats. And if an idea that is now looked like a Democratic idea went through,
right?
I don't know. Maybe it is that, like, it seems like it's that close. So maybe he doesn't want to throw another X factor in there like that. But
yeah, well, interesting. I did see. I know Loeffler for sure. I think Purdue. I'm not positive on him, but I know Loeffler for sure was in favor of the. Somebody's beeping there. Was in favor of the stimulus checks being $2,000. I think she essentially said what the president, I support what the president wants. So I don't think it would have put her in a bad position. I think she would have been, assuming most voters are in favor of a $2,000 stimulus check.
Which it seems like they are.
Right. And but even the ones who aren't in favor of it aren't going to vote for a Democrat over a Republican in the state of Georgia. Like even those Georgia conservatives that are anti, we don't spending and we don't need this money, like they're not going to vote for a Democrat because
Yeah.
So I don't think it was. I'm not sure about. I'm pretty sure Purdue was kind of on the same page as Loeffler, but
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think
they've proven that they're not above going back on what they've said.
right.
So
Yeah. Right.
if
Yeah.
need be, yeah.
So they're a Republican.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I was talking with somebody over the weekend, and I kind of made that point of like, well, it's easy for them to take that position when they know they're not going to have to make a vote on it. So who knows?
Yep.
I mean, I do. I tend to leave. I mean, a split result isn't out of the question either. I think it would be kind of strange, but but on one hand, I think that it's everything that's happened since the election with Trump and how he's handled everything, and like you have to think that hurts the Republican candidates, Purdue and Loeffler, I would think. But maybe that, I mean, maybe that drives, I haven't seen what the turnout numbers are, but maybe that drives turnout for Republican voters that didn't vote in the presidential election, in November, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think it's just so and then you have the issue with Georgia, like historically has been pretty safe red state, and then it went blue for the president for Biden in November. Like, so right. How does that, like, I don't know. It's just the polling is so close that it just, I don't know. I mean, optimistically, right. Democrats win. I think that's that's what we would all love to see.
Right. The blue at the president level, and then splitting for senators that are maintaining the senators that are in power, like Joni Ernst and
right. So
Susan Collins and those people. It's just like,
yeah.
Okay. Yep. Sure.
One quick
they're
question.
Completely not at fault.
Right. Yeah. One quick question, then we'll get Joe what Joe thinks is going to be the outcome here. But okay, so what happens if Dems win both seats? It's 50-50. Who's the leader of the, like, if it's 50-50, like McConnell's not the Senate Majority Leader, right? I mean, how does that happen? Like, who determines what bills get brought to a vote? And
it would be the Democratic.
It would be.
It'd be the Democratic leader.
President of the Senate is vice president. So
right. So that he breaks the vote, but since he's the tie-breaking vote, then the Democrats. Oh, I see. Because they're going to vote along party lines for the Senate Majority Leader, and then Kamala's going to come in, and I see. So it works the same way as if there's a gotcha. Okay.
Technically, no, but yes.
Right. No, that makes sense. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe, what do you think with the runoffs? What's your prediction?
I mean, I think everything from the news cycle to this election trends are pointing in the direction of Ossoff and Warnock winning, but I don't know. It's going to be close. I think any election nowadays, both sides are very good with ramping up their bases, and it's going to be a question on who's better organized and who gets more people out to vote. I do think having a minority for the Democrats with Raphael Warnock will help, because these special elections are designed to just traditionally throughout American history, only, older, more dedicated white voters show up for special elections, midterms, when the president's out on the ballot. So, I mean, it's no coincidence that a lot of these runoff situations or, stipulations on these Senate seats usually happen in the South. I think Kentucky does it. I think Louisiana does the same thing. But we'll see. I think the Democrats are in the better position, especially with this phone call coming out days before, the regular vote.
So you think because Raphael Warnock, him being a minority and on the ballot at the same time, is like that's gonna help Ossoff with getting minority voters out supporting him. That's
going to help getting minority votes out for a special election is what I'm more saying. Is
Sure. Okay.
these special elections are, designed to prey on the fact that,
Right.
even less wealthy people, minorities, anybody that's not established and can take a day off and, dedicate their whole day, don't have to worry about kids. It's usually a white, retired voter, which,
Right.
usually leans pretty heavy Republican, but
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think we're also only 2 years removed from Stacey Abrams, running too. Like, and I know she's been very active. So I mean, she had her whole movement, and for the governorship, there 2 years ago. So I mean, it's not, those pieces aren't too far removed. So hopefully, her being involved is helpful.
hey, I mean, we're only 3 years. We're only 3 years removed from Democrat getting elected in Alabama. So I mean,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
happens.
So I mean, it'll be interesting. I think we'll all be kind of following it closely. Like, the implications of it are just huge. In Georgia on Tuesday, the control of the Senate, and then I mean, as we've talked about in the past, we'll I think have a lot to say on what Biden's agenda is going to look like, in his first term, if the Dems are able to, get that 50-50 split in the Senate with the tie break. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens there. But yeah, the phone call, I think you're right. I think the phone call makes things even trickier. Because like, then now Loeffler and Purdue are having to answer questions about it, and like, it's just like they're trying to straddle that line of being on Trump's good side, but also like ostensibly not like spitting in the face of our election process and democracy.
But they're kind of stuck. Like, one of the things that happened in the Doug Collins, Kelly Loeffler primary is like they tethered themselves. It was a battle to tether who could tether themselves closer to Trump. So,
Right.
I mean, it's going to be pretty hard for Loeffler, especially, to differentiate anything from Trump. And I don't think I mean, I could be wrong. So, but I don't think there's going to be a split vote here. I mean, it's either Republicans are going to win or Democrats.
No, I think that's most likely.
So I mean, it might be David Perdue getting hurt by the fact that Kelly Loeffler is so closely tied to Trump. We'll see. I mean,
Speaking
it's an election. We'll see.
Speaking of Doug Collins, one person I will not. I mean, there's a lot of people I wouldn't miss, but it's going to be so great him not being in Congress anymore, since he gave up his House seat to run for the Senate. But gosh, a former preacher, and he's just so preachy. Like, he just annoyed the hell out of me.
Wasn't he the guy that sent out the tweet about Ruth Bader Ginsburg like 10 minutes after her death was announced?
Yep, that guy. Yep, him. Yep, pastor or preacher. I don't. My ignorance. I don't know the difference between the two. But he was. Yes, he's just. Yeah. So good on him for losing and not being in politics anymore. Yeah, so everybody make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, Moose Club Pod, and then you can always find us on Spotify by searching the Moose Club. We will have another episode coming out here probably a day after this video is posted about, the Josh Hawley, the Senate, contesting the Electoral College results, and the several people in the Republicans in the House doing the same thing. So we'll have an episode about that coming out shortly after this one. Yeah, Georgia runoff election here on the 5th on Tuesday. So we'll see if we can get together this week and do like a reaction episode, depending on what happens. And yeah, just be on the lookout for those. Yeah, thanks for watching.